Tonight, more shocking testimony at the inquiry into the fate of the Titan submersible.
And you felt safe going down to the Titanic after that incident?
Yeah.
One of OceanGate's own paying customers and one of the last people to see the Titan crew alive details the submersible's history of failures and mishaps.
The annual Placentia Bay Industrial Showcase is underway, and there's big optimism over oil and gas, renewables, critical minerals, and a whole lot more. I'm Terry Roberts. I'll have that story coming up.
Well, it's very wet here in Brigus, and everybody is soaking wet, but the Targa racers have finished. A winner has been announced. We're going to have more details coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin tonight with the American inquiry into the Titan tragedy. We have new video of the submersible on the sea floor near the Titanic wreck. Today's testimony included two individuals who made that same deep-sea dive to the Titanic. As Here and Now's Heather Gillis reports, today's witness was one of the last people to see Titan's 5 passengers alive.
Deep beneath the North Atlantic on the seafloor near Titanic, remnants of another wreck. What's left of Titan after its implosion. Today, the U.S. Coast Guard heard from 2 people who have made it to the Titanic in Titan. The first witness, Renata Rojas, OceanGate mission specialist, a title given to a paying customer. She's been on 7 OceanGate dives, putting down a deposit to see Titanic in 2017, observing Titan testing in the Bahamas in 2018 and 19. She was at sea with OceanGate in 2021 before diving to the wreck the next year. Rojas was aware of problems with the sub inside it when the dome fell off in 2021. The dive prior to hers, Rojas said the sub made a loud bang upon resurfacing.
And you felt safe going down to the Titanic after that incident?
Yeah. I knew what I was doing was very risky. I never at any point felt unsafe.
Her trip to the Titanic had issues too. Investigators say controls to thrusters were backwards, lights were flashing, issues with weights. Batteries died upon returning to the surface. Rojas says during a different dive after resurfacing, a crew slept aboard Titan overnight because seas were too choppy to retrieve them. But on June 18th, the day of the implosion, Rojas was one of the last people to see the crew alive, bagging up their personal belongings as they were boarding, helping to hold the bolts that sealed the crew inside.
They were just very happy to go. And that's the memory I have. Nobody was really nervous. They were excited about what they're going to see, make sure you have your camera.
She says concern didn't come until later that evening when Titan's crew didn't resurface. Stephen Ross, a former science director with OceanGate, made the dive to Titanic in Titan. He recalls issues with the controller, but calls it an acceptable risk. He was there for the sub's scary second last dive. A valve malfunctioned on Titan's platform, sinking part of it, sending the sub's bow in the air, upending 5 people inside for about an hour.
The pilot crashed into the rear bulkhead. The rest of the passengers tumbled about. I ended up standing on the rear bulkhead. One passenger was hanging upside down.
Ross testified that the CEO, Stockton Rush, told him Titan's hull would last indefinitely.
Meanwhile, Rojas made an emotional statement at the end of her testimony saying nothing will bring her friends back. A member of the Explorers Club, she says there's always the possibility of risk, but that she still believes in the importance of deep-sea innovation and exploration. Testimony continues tomorrow in South Carolina. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, despite having hundreds of rental properties in the capital city, St. John's is experiencing a serious shortage. As Here and Now's Malone Mullen reports, the rental vacancy rate is lower than it's been in years.
As little as 4 years ago, trying to find a rental property in St. John's wasn't quite so stressful. But with the city's vacancy rate the lowest it's been in the last decade, being a tenant these days is tough. These numbers show what percentage of rental units are on the market. Any vacancy rate under 3% is considered a rental shortage, which the city officially entered last year. That's despite the city's number of private rentals actually going up, about 400 more units since 2020. I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall. She said apartment hunting has become like a second job. She sent out more than 100 requests to view an apartment, but only ever set foot into one. That's because the demand and the competition is so stiff these days. It's a story that rental advocate Sherwin Flight has been hearing a lot lately.
It's getting harder and harder for people to find a place. We saw in the past, if we went back, say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, the majority of the posts in those groups would be landlords offering places for rent and then tenants commenting underneath that they were interested. These days that has kind of flipped. Most of the posts are landlords or are tenants looking for places, desperately looking for places. That word comes up a lot these days. And very few landlords commenting underneath with anything to offer.
Flight has his finger on the pulse of the rental market, but can't really say what has changed.
That's probably the $1 million question. I think it's a lot of different things. We tend to see a lot of, international students, different times of year. But we've always had international students. I don't know if the numbers have increased. We did see during the pandemic a lot of people online saying that they felt safer in Newfoundland, so we're moving back home. People that were living in other parts of the country over the last couple of years have sort of made their way back home. And I don't think housing stock has really, kept pace with the need.
Flight says more policies to incentivize landlords could create more rental properties. In the long term, the city is handing out fee breaks to developers and grants to homeowners looking to convert their property into rental housing, but that's not going to happen overnight.
This was probably a situation many years in the making. We're just at a point now where it's impossible to deny, the situation that we're in. Some people call it a housing crisis. I'm inclined to agree, but this didn't happen overnight.
Malone Mullen, CBC News, St. John's.
It's heartbreaking, and it's a reality that affects too many here in our society. And survivors face additional challenges, as we know, when they try to find safe and stable and affordable housing.
That's the Minister for Women and Gender Equality announcing a new rental subsidy for survivors of gender-based violence. It's $17 million over 5 years to help people fleeing abusive situations and find a safe place to live and pay rent. The money is coming from both the federal and provincial governments. Pam Parsons says the program will help people escape unsafe situations.
As minister, I've traveled around to stakeholders here in our province, the experts on the front line who are offering these services, front line. They hear the stories, they see the situations, and the thing everybody says is that women don't leave. They don't leave their violent situations, their violent homes, because there is no option. They don't have that safe, secure place where they can go to escape the violence and to start over. But this will go a long way.
Well, the province's health minister says there are fewer nurse vacancies in the province's healthcare system, but the union that represents nurses says government still has to find a way to stop the hundreds of nurses who leave every year and do more to keep the nurses it hires. Here now's Mark Quinn reports.
The health minister says that since April 2023, the province has hired 839 nurses.
This is excellent news. It shows our recruitment strategy is working.
John Hogan says that number includes registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, and nurse practitioners. And he says all of those 839 new nurses are on the job working in the province's healthcare system. But Hogan said the system is still facing a big shortage. There are more than 600 nurse vacancies, and he says it's expected that hundreds of nurses will leave here every year.
There are roughly 300 registered nurses who resign or retire in any given year, which means, of course, we need to replace those 300 registered nurses each year to cover that loss.
The nurses' union thinks that number is higher, and they want the province to deal with the problems they say are driving nurses to leave.
We talk about recruitment, we also have to talk about retention, getting to address the violence in healthcare, addressing the flexible scheduling.
The opposition's health critic says the provincial government isn't listening to nurses.
Nurses and doctors are our healthcare system, and if they feel they're not being listened to and ignored, that's your problem.
The health minister did meet with the nurses' union earlier this week, and he says recruitment is moving numbers in the right direction. From April 2023 to April 2024, the number of registered nurse vacancies dropped by 78 positions. The most recent vacancy total is from April of this year, but health officials say they'll have an updated number in October. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Targa racers have been behind the wheel all week long, putting the pedal to the metal in a 2,000-kilometer rally race through towns and coastal communities. And what better place to bring it all to a head than Brigus? That's where Jeremy Eaton is right now at the Targa finish line. So, Jeremy, what can you tell us about the final leg of this epic race on this rainy evening?
Yeah, well, it's still soaking wet here in Brigus, but I'm not going to dwell on it. The races end. A couple of the drivers have hung around to chat to us, including the winners of Targa 1, Randy and Paul. Congratulations, fellas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Paul, I know that you're the local lad. This is your Targa 911. What was it like seeing Randy? What was it like taking this car around the last week or so?
Oh, it's been absolutely great. Can't say enough about this guy for driving. We had a really good week and would like to say a big shout out thanks to everybody for putting this off.
You've done, is this your fifth Targa? Fourth Targa. How does this rank in comparison to the other ones, Paul?
Oh, this has been a great one. We're a small, tight crowd here, and the competition has been fierce this week, so it's been great.
Has Randy put this car through things that you didn't think were actually possible?
Not yet.
Anyways, congratulations. I appreciate it. Now, you two never met. You reached out to him. You're from Atlanta, Georgia. You team up with him. What was your second Targa like, Randy?
It was incredible to have an opportunity to hop into a car like this with a guy I've never met before, riding and navigating the whole Targa for thousands of kilometers all over the rock. And he has a t-shirt. He would have a different crazy t-shirt every day. And it said, "Don't count the old 911 out." This is a 1989, pretty much just the way Porsche made it. And boom, we won the thing.
And how does that feel? I know you didn't like that when me to ask you that question, but how does it feel, Paul?
Oh, it's absolutely great. It's been really good, and I had a special.
Show me shirt.
Just for him.
Well, he's in the passenger seat. Of course, he's going as fast as I am.
Well, congratulations, fella. Appreciate you sticking around in the rain. Now, if you think these two are characters, these are some of the biggest, I'd say arguably the biggest characters. This is Tom and Corey. Fellas, how was this second Targa for you, third Targa for you? Corey, how was this race for you?
This race was wonderful. I really loved the expression on the safety marshal's face as we went left instead of right, straight towards his car before we corrected. I don't know who writes these route books, but David, I apologize for that scare. Got some clean underwear, I guess.
I agree. This was a fantastic experience right until that left was supposed to be a right, and that was the end of it. But we're still
navigating anyway.
Are we getting along? No, not anymore. We're done. We have to go back to Ontario together. I don't know how it's going to be. It's going to be a quiet, long drive. I don't even know what it's going to be like on the ferry. We'll figure it out. But we're going right to Niagara Falls. That's our plan.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're ready for the falls. The weather's perfect. Yeah. We're good to go.
This feels like we're on the Maid of the Mist right now.
Yeah, it feels like we're on the Maid of the Mist right now. Yeah.
We met you on the first day. You're wildly dressed. You got your 90s retros theme going on the car. Can you come back next year? Will you come back next year? And how do you top what you've done this year?
Absolutely, and you're going to find out. We've already started plans for next year. Our first car broke down. This is car number 2. We're going to bring car number 3 next year, and it is going to be phenomenal. Can't wait to get back to Newfoundland.
Oh, yeah. The plans have already started. I think we were planning it while we were navigating the stages. I mean, what else are we going to do while we're driving?
Well, we had
right?
the Top Gun soundtrack on, and we thought, you know what? There's a theme here that we might come back. So
well, we can't say enough about the volunteers this week. They made it so much fun. They were fantastic, incredible. So.
And every single person along the way that was cheering us on, everyone in the communities that had to take a pause in their day. I hope we entertained you. We love you guys. Every single person here has been phenomenal. Can't wait to come back next year.
Oh, and we had a great time handing out Hot Wheels to kids along the way, too.
That was good.
That was really
out
fun.
the window as we're driving by Hot
we
Wheels.
didn't have time to stop, but we had time to throw them.
Awesome. Real quick, if you could offer, if somebody's watching this and they're saying like, hey, I'd like to do this, but I'm apprehensive, what would a bit of advice from each of you?
Last year was our first year where we ran Targa. And it was, you can get in with no driving experience, or if you are an experienced racer, there are various levels of competition. So even if you're not, as long as you're adventurous, you have to be. If you're not adventurous, don't show up. If you are adventurous and you like a good time, we're here for you, and that's a great way to see the province.
I agree. I think we proved it 2 years in a row. You can bring a daily driver out here and be super competitive. We were, I think, one off of winning this thing, right? Maybe a couple off.
That was your fault, though.
Oh,
one wrong turn.
No, it was nobody's fault. It wasn't my fault, but it was nobody's fault.
Anyways, it's been a pleasure to get to know you guys over the last little bit. Thank you so much for everything. That's Randy and Paul. Thanks so much for coming out. We appreciate it, Randy. All the best.
My pleasure.
Now, are you coming back next year?
Love you, Canada.
Three-time
Love you, Newfoundland.
Three-time champion? Coming back next year?
I'll be back. We're trying to go electric. We're trying to go electric. Look out.
Look out for Randy, fastest man in Targa, Targa 1. Reporting live from Brigus, I'm Jeremy Eaton for CBC.
Well, the long-running Placentia Bay Industrial Showcase finished up this afternoon, but this year's two-day forum had some extra energy, and it's inspired by talk about oil, renewables, fish, minerals, and more. Your Now's Terry Roberts reports.
At first blush, you might have mistaken this year's edition of the Placentia Bay Industrial Showcase for a political convention. Current and former elected leaders, and some who've been away from politics but looking to make a comeback. But no politicians were able to overshadow the optimism and confidence at this year's trade show and conference. More than 300 delegates, organizers pumped like never before for an event that dates back nearly 3 decades.
You know that you're in good when people are contacting you to present at your conference and you're not trying to chase people down.
The mood is a reflection of the area's industrial might and the opportunities ahead, says this business and community leader.
Our Argentia and the Placentia area is being talked about worldwide. So we have a lot of people with interest that are coming here to see firsthand what exists.
The list of speakers was a who's who of industry, business, and public services. And there's plenty to talk about because the economic potential in Placentia Bay is pointing skyward. The aquaculture industry here is growing fast, alongside the demand for food security and nutrition. The former oil refinery in Chance has new life as a producer of renewable fuels. More than 800 people are on the job in Long Harbour, helping meet the global demand for critical minerals such as nickel, copper, and cobalt. And Placentia Bay is poised to play a big role in the burgeoning wind hydrogen industry, which could bring multi-billion-dollar projects to Argentia, Chance, and the Burin Peninsula.
Just imagine if our ancestors could see what we're building today.
It's safe to say they're embracing the energy future in Placentia Bay, and it's giving this long-running trade show and convention a noticeable spark.
Almost definitely. Almost definitely, Placentia Bay is on its way up.
It's a very positive nature to the economy here right now.
Most of the chatter surrounds this jewel, the port of Argentia. The number of developments here are almost too numerous to mention. More than 1,300 people were going to work at this oil construction project this summer. The port is being transformed into a marshalling yard for massive offshore wind energy projects in the United States. Big contracts to store these behemoth monopiles. Now there's a new deal to store hundreds of wind turbine blades, and talk of even more deals in the future. Beginning next year, the port will undergo a $100 million expansion, one that officials here hope will fully unlock its economic potential. And these days, when the Premier speaks at an event like this, he's careful to applaud the opportunities available in the energy transition, but he's still firmly committed to the oil and gas industry.
It's the perfect juxtaposition of how Newfoundland and Labrador can win, and not any other province I'm aware of in the country can say that.
The province's unemployment rate is near a record low, and Placentia Bay can take its share of credit for that. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Placentia.
Well, the school year has only just started, but varsity sports are already in full swing. Mun's Leanne Claude has been named Female Player of the Week by Atlantic University Sport. The rookie goaltender from Switzerland posted 2 shutouts over the weekend in Nova Scotia. Congratulations on a great performance.
Well, it has certainly been a rainy day for most of us across the island. Some sunshine, though, as well up across parts of Labrador. I'll get into all the forecast details coming up.
right, so a bit of a miserable day here in St. John's today with the rain and cooler temperatures. But yesterday, there were some records broken, I understand, for the heat.
Yeah, there was quite a few records broken yesterday, and I think that might be the last of the warm temperatures, at least for a little bit. Let's take a look at those records just to relive the past a little bit. Burgeo reached 23.9 degrees. That broke a record from 1993. And then we have some earlier records, St. Lawrence, Winterland, all seeing records broken from 2023 or 2021, and anywhere from 24.7 degrees to 26.9. So those two temperatures, in fact, were the warmest temperatures recorded this late in the season as well. So very different story today. And if we take a look at what's happening outside right now, fog, showers, temperatures around 12 degrees in St. John's. We can thank these east-northeasterly winds. Not overly impressive, but around 11 kilometers per hour. Visibility down to 1.2 kilometers at the airport. So why are we seeing this? Well, it's all because we've got an area of low pressure that is parked offshore and is going to stay parked offshore for a little while. That is going to keep us in very reminiscent of a spring-like pattern. So expect that to continue through the weekend into next week. Now, ridge of high pressure will dominate the weather picture as we get into midweek next week, but we're still going to hang on to that onshore flow. So that does mean that we'll continue to see some of the cooler temperatures, and really this will generally continue as we head into next week. There will be some nicer weather in the mix there as well, but overall we are looking at some unsettled weather. Here's our temperatures for today. Well, right now, 12 degrees in areas like Badger, 15 in Corner Brook. The weather is the best on the southwest corner of the island, anywhere from 19 to 20 degrees right now. Hitting 20 up across, or close to 20 up across Labrador as well. Lab City down, though, now to about 17 degrees. And if we take a look at what's happening as far as the satellite and radar goes, most of the heavy rain has now ended across the island. Now we're still seeing a few showers down along southern areas of the Avalon, but overall just some showers, some patchy drizzle expected tonight, and we are seeing some beautiful clearing skies for western portions of the island. We've got an area of high pressure to the north, still seeing some cloud cover with that as well, though, and that area of low pressure to the south is going to move off, but still expecting this onshore flow to bring areas of cloud cover, definitely the chance of some patchy drizzle as well overnight, and a few showers through the overnight period as well. That will continue up across Labrador for the most part as well, but your temperatures are going to be cooler. So 3 to 6 degrees through the day, through the night. And the island also looking at temperatures in the single digits, just barely hanging on to the double digits in St. John's at 10 degrees. But again, winds around 40 kilometers per hour, certainly possible tonight. Into tomorrow, that area of low pressure is still hanging around, so onshore flow will continue. That means areas of cloud cover, patchy drizzle, maybe a few showers as well. That will be the story towards the coast. And as is typical when we see this flow, areas like the west coast and the southwest coast of the island, you're going to see some beautiful weather through tomorrow. And that will be the story for western Labrador as well. Now, overall, we are going to see these cooler temperatures. And again, away from that, we'll see some warmer air. But for the most part tomorrow, northerly winds 20 to 40 kilometers per hour, temperatures between 12 and about 16 degrees. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to see any sun, because you certainly may see some peaks of sun tomorrow afternoon. That will be the case really through central areas of the island as well. But again, the best chance of seeing the sun will be for the west. Your winds too, light, 15 to 18 degrees for most of you. Northern Peninsula, you're looking at around 12 to 13 degrees. And then we're getting into the single digits across portions of Labrador, particularly mid-coast towards the north coast. You'll be in the single digits with your winds onshore tomorrow. And other than that, 12 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay, 20 in Lab City. We'll talk about how long that will last when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the Circus is coming to St. John's. There will be whirling, twirling, dancing. But as you're about to hear, the organizers set a high bar. They've been searching globally to try to bring some top talent to town.
When you go into organizing a big festival, what is your benchmark for who makes the cut?
We have a pretty high standard, but it's a fun standard. It's more the standard of wanting to bring amazing circus to Newfoundland, but also wanting to see shows that we would actually want to go to ourselves. So every show we program, Cal and I have handpicked, and we would buy tickets to go see them.
We were both performers ourselves and traveled the world prior to this life. And so we've seen some of great things in the world, and we know that exists, so we know where to look as well.
And this year, the feature country is France, and that is kind of a big deal. Tell us a little bit about how that's going to show up in Circus Fest this year.
Well, we have two shows coming from France. We have one that is called Oma, or the Privileges of the Potato. This one will be presented twice, so at our opening show on Thursday night.
At the Majestic Theatre.
At the Majestic Theatre, and we have it presented as well on Sunday at 2 p.m. And we have as well a show called El Spectacolo that will be presented at the LSPU Hall on Saturday night.
Machine de Cirque, our closing show, are coming from Korea. They are arriving in Montreal. I think they have 48 hours to do a turnover and come to us. So these companies are really busy. They're all excited to come see St. John's, come see Newfoundland, and what we want to give them is the beautiful experience, fill the theater so that they also have a wonderful experience, but also we want to share this with the audience here so they can see some amazing circus.
A lot of circus school coming across Canada to visit us. They will take our workshops. They will be assisting at our panels, and they will be there to just take it all in, really.
I have a aerial school here called I Fly Aerial Arts, and so for me it's so important for them to see what the possibilities are or just to be inspired by those people. Also, I feel that St. John's is a destination, so it's a great place that people want to come, and circus in Canada is really concentrated in Quebec. It's Quebec, and then it's almost like the rest of the world, the rest of North America. So we've managed to create another platform where people can be seen, where people can gather, where people can exchange, where people can inspire themselves. And for me, I think circus is something so positive. I think it's accessible. There's no language barrier, so it appeals to everybody. And I think in the world that we're in now, we need things that lift us up, and Cal and I program stuff that lift you up. We're not programming stuff that you go home feeling heavy and you leave feeling, wow, thank you. And maybe it's something or someone has touched you in that show that really, we've had people come up to us after our shows who have said to us, oh my God, I think I just saw myself on stage. Not quite doing those skills, but I can identify and my life has changed. No, honestly, we've had that comments in the past. Not that we're here to change lives, but we're here to inspire people and we're here to show people, just bring them out of their world.
After Hurricane Fiona and nothing being left of the stage, that being one of the only things left, I guess it was a little more, it was a little piece of a special place.
A life preserver salvaged after post-tropical storm Fiona in Port aux Basques 2 years ago is being sent to New York to be part of a climate change exhibition. We'll tell you all about it coming up.
Org.
Well, it's been 2 years since post-tropical storm Fiona hit the province's west coast, and the devastation it caused is still fresh in many people's minds. Next week, government leaders, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, will travel to New York for the United Nations General Assembly and the Summit of the Future, and a piece of Port aux Basques will also be there. A pop-up exhibit will showcase artifacts from floods and wildfires in Canada to shine a spotlight on the dangers of climate change. Connor Curtis is with the Sierra Club and joins me now. So, Connor, first of all, can you tell us a bit more about this event happening in New York?
Yeah, so this is going to be an exhibit of artifacts from various different climate disasters across Canada that we're bringing to New York as a chance to highlight these objects that were salvaged in many cases from people's homes or businesses that were destroyed. It's a chance also for several of the people who actually salvaged the items, several of the people who experienced its impacts firsthand, whether they be wildfires or severe storms, to go to New York and to actually talk with people about their experiences. Obviously, it's also a time when we expect there to be a fair amount of leadership, including Canadian leadership in New York. So it's an opportunity to chat to them about policy solutions to climate change in Canada as well.
And I mentioned the piece of Port aux Basques being included in the exhibit. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so this is a life preserver from a fishing stage that was destroyed in Port aux Basques by Hurricane Fiona. And the spokesperson who experienced this, who lost their fishing stage and had many family members also lose property in the storm, is going to be somebody who's helping us bring this object basically to New York for people to see and to bring awareness to the damage that was done by that severe storm. And it brings home the fact that, these are very real consequences. And as we do see climate change getting worse, and as we do try to pursue solutions to try and mitigate those impacts from happening, it is one thing to talk about that in an abstract way. What we hope to do with this exhibition is to actually bring this forward in a very physical and a very real way that also gives those people the chance to tell their stories.
Well, Connor Curtis, good luck with the event, and thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so now let's speak with the owner of that life preserver that will be part of the exhibit. Mark Lomond joins us now from Codroy Valley. So Mark, can you tell us a bit about this life preserver that will be featured in the event?
Yeah, well, originally I had found it myself down on the breakwater in Port aux Basques after a big storm. And I had taken it down to my stage, and it was hung out on the outside of the stage for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And it was just there with the throw line on it in case of emergency, but it was more or less a little ornamental, I guess you could say. And yeah, that's where it stayed. And after Fiona, everything had changed down there so much. The entire area was unrecognizable, but the life preserver there was still in the middle. It was in the middle of the cove, and it was attached to the bottom by its throw line. So it stayed there for about a year and a half. I was gonna take it in, but someone said I should leave it there, and I took their suggestion. It looked a little eerie at first, just sitting there, but yeah, it was just left there as a kind of a little tribute, I guess. But these guys going around cleaning up ghost nets and garbage and debris in coves and harbors, they when they got to the cove where my stage was, they cut it free and took it with the rest of the stuff that they had cleaned up. So I contacted them, and they put that kind of stuff up for sale. So I bought it back off of them for $50. and I just hung it up in the garage until till they called asking about it, and now it's on its way to New York.
Why did you want to keep the life preserver? Why did you go through the trouble to track it down and to buy it back? What's so special about it?
Well, I guess before Fiona, if anybody had asked for it, I probably would have just gave it to them. There wasn't really much special about it at the time, but after Hurricane Fiona and nothing being left of the stage, that being one of the only things left, I guess it was a little more, you know, it was a little piece of a special place. And yeah, so that's all. It's just it was all that was left. So didn't have much else. You can't put into words the devastation that was there. It's hard to believe.
Hard to believe it's been 2 years as well. Tuesday is the 2nd anniversary of the storm.
Yeah, it's been quite some time, and it's and there's still not. There's a lot that's not gone back to normal. Never will. I think it changed the town forever, and really broke up a lot of the downtown community. There was a lot of families and a lot of homes, neighbors that were neighbors forever, and those people don't live next to each other anymore, so they don't see each other on a daily basis anymore. So it's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, how many members of your family suffered losses because of Fiona, either with property loss or losing their homes?
Well, my parents lost their home, which was in the family. Well, it was in that spot for 97 years. It was floated to Port of Bass from a Otter Point on the southern shore. And my uncle lost his home, which was in the family for 113 years. Another uncle lost his home. A third uncle lost his home, and my great aunt next door, she lost her home as well. So there's 5 homes.
It's incredible. Mark Lomond, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's one of the kind in the world where you shut down roads, then the speeds now are tripled or whatever.
The calls are fast. Both of us are learning. Day one was a bit of a learning curve for us.
From rally races in India to the States to Targa 2024, why this couple keeps coming back. More from the Targa finish line in Brigus still to come.
And it starts out like so, a map of Brigus. That's what we're going to do. Then we show them where our start is, which is right here, where our flying finish is, which they're timed from, and where they have to stop and get their time. And that, as you can see, is 4.3 kilometers long. Then each instruction is done like this. So when you go up the top of this road, you will see a right angle turn. This would be what's called an R3. So it goes right, and each gradient is 3. There's a whole set of gradients from 6 down to 2. And that's where we start from. So we'll take off now if you're ready.
Whenever you're ready.
And I'll basically do a commentary run for you.
Sure thing.
And we go right here to the end of this little bridge here. And this becomes the start line.
So you grew up in Brigus. Was it important to bring the race here then? Is that why it
I
comes
always
here?
wanted to. It's one of the very few towns that has infrastructure in it. In other words, roads that actually cross like that. Because most are strip development along the shoreline. And while we run in an awful lot of them and in and out stages like we do in Marysvale and Conception Harbour Colliers. Conception Harbour Colliers has a good loop, and Brigus has what we best call a rabbit's warren, much like Trinity. Trinity and Brigus as courses were about the same. So when I grew up in Brigus, well, we kicked around here as kids and did everything, and I loved the place. My grandfather was brought up in Brigus. He was a Roberts. And my cousins and I all spent our Easters and Christmases and summers out here. At that time, the town had lost its prosperity and was coming into a rough period. And then about in 1990, I purchased an old house here, which I restored over 2 years, and then sold that eventually to my son and daughter-in-law. So that's my history in Brigus in a thumbnail sketch.
Well, that was a little tour around the Brigus Targa track, and each year Targa attracts drivers from all over the world. One even got their start rally racing in India before moving to the United States a few years ago. And thanks to a little luck, they discovered the Targa race last year and decided to return. They spoke with Here and Now's Jeremy Eaton.
We got into rallying in India, mostly the time, speed, distance format. And then we rallied in India for about 4 years. Then we moved to the US and we've been rallying here for 10 years. Last year was our first Targa. We loved it, the place, the people, the community feeling, everything was so wonderful. We couldn't miss it this time. And we're back because of that.
Most of the rallies we have done have been on open roads, public roads, so speed limits are low. This is the first time we did a time, speed, distance rally. I mean, probably it's the one of the kind in the world where you shut down roads, right? And then the speeds now are tripled or whatever because the roads are closed. That experience was mind-blowing for me as a driver and for her as a navigator, because now the navigation calls have to be like in triple speed or whatever. So we loved that experience. I mean, not just the driving part of it. I mean, if it was just a rally and fast speeds, like I don't think we would have pined to come back, but we loved the region, people, food.
It's been wonderful. I think it's like being thrown into the fire and then having to manage somehow to keep the two of us on route, on pace, and keep us safe, not crashing. But the rally itself does a wonderful job by, putting in all the safety mechanisms. We know those are in place, so we know they are a good cushion for us. But otherwise, the calls are fast. Both of us are learning. Day one was a bit of a learning curve for us. The prologue really knocked some humility into us, and day two has just been getting better and better. We're loving it.
I mean, I don't think anywhere in the world, like, you can actually sit in a backyard and watch a motorsport streetcar race or whatever. I mean, illegal stuff. So, and which is safe. So, which is amazing. I mean, it's been a mix of both. I mean, it's like two different rallies in the same day. Like, we did a 30-kilometer stage. Now we are doing a 3-kilometer fast in-town stage.
This is year 2. What are you going to do? You're going to make it a hat trick? Going to come back for the 3rd year?
Oh, touch wood. Yes, we would really love to. I think the fact that the community comes together, the organizers, work with the communities, and everyone is so happy to have Targa here, and that Targa, makes it worthwhile to come back for the competitors, for everybody. I think this really is an event we want to keep on our bucket list every year.
New Brunswick Premier Blaine Higgs has called a provincial election for October 21st.
Obviously, healthcare is going to be a question, but the point on this is we have a system, we're progressing in the system. We've had 100,000 new people. It's making additional challenges. And I think we have to recognize that growth is creating pain, and it's pain with gain. And I'm hopeful that we will have the support to continue the momentum.
Higgs is seeking a third term. He's been in office since 2018. The election is expected to focus on pocketbook issues and the government's controversial gender identity policies. The PC leader attracted national attention by making teachers get parental consent before using the preferred names and pronouns of students under 16 years of age. right, time for a look at the long-range forecast. That means we get to look ahead to the weekend, which is almost here.
Almost.
So what's the weather going to be like this weekend?
Well, we're going to hang on to a lot of what we see is what we get. It won't be as rainy, but it's still going to be a bit unsettled. Lots of cloud cover through the weekend. Is cooler, yeah, unfortunately. Let's take a look at what's going on. And I told you earlier, it's because we've got an area of low pressure just offshore there. So it's going to keep most of us in northerly flow or onshore flow. Those of you that are away from it, though, will enjoy some much nicer weather through the day. So as we get into Saturday, expect some periods of cloud cover, some chances of showers, even drizzle, especially coastal areas of Labrador and really all along the northeast coast as well. Now, there will be some periods of sun, at least some breaks in the cloud cover through the day as well. But again, as we head into the evening hours, better chance of showers sinking a little bit further south, and that will be the story along southern areas of the island, as well as portions of Labrador as well. As far as the temperatures go, it's going to be cool. Most of us will be sitting somewhere between 11 to 14 or 16 degrees, and the warmest temperatures again will be south. Single digits for coastal areas of Labrador, 7 to 9 degrees. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, you'll hover around 11. And again, the winner of the weather lottery will be Lab City, 19 degrees for your Saturday. And then as we head into Sunday, it does look like another round of showers will move in. And really, we're just going to be seeing waves of showers over the next couple of days. West coast, southwest coast of the island looking like you're going to see some sunshine. There may be some clouds in the mix there as well, but overall, you again will see the nicest weather. Coastal areas of Labrador, again, still hanging on to that chance of showers. We may see a few showers for central areas of Labrador as well. Overall, cloudy periods for Lab City, 18 degrees. That will be the warmest air that we see. And otherwise, it's kind of a carbon copy forecast as far as those temperatures are concerned across the rest of Labrador and across the island as well, except a little cooler for the southwest. Here's your long-range forecast. Now, our temperatures are going to be in the overnight periods anyway in the single digits for most of the weekend. By the time we get into Monday, we're really not going to see a whole lot of change in the temperatures from overnight to during the day. Again, feeling very spring-like, although much warmer than it would be in spring. But we're still, fall officially arrives on Sunday. But we're going to hang on to temperatures around 14 degrees. Now for Central, you may see a bit more sunshine in the mix, and certainly that's the case for Western Newfoundland, just a few showers by Monday, but overall temperatures between 12 to 13 degrees. And then for Labrador, you're looking at some rain on Monday, Tuesday, clearing out nicely, 14 degrees. And what a stretch of weather in Lab West. You're looking at daytime highs in the mid to upper teens right through next week. Our photo of the day is a evening view over Maggoty Pond there, just in Bay Bulls. Thank you to April for that lovely photo. If you have any, send them to Facebook or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Great name.
I know.
Maggoty Pond. Love that.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it really seems like weather-wise we're in a pattern now. We're just might as well settle in.
Settle in
for the low to mid-teen temperatures.
Yeah.
But or we could just all get on a plane and go to Lab West for
that.
The next
sounds like
5
a
days.
great idea. That sounds like a really great idea.
All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.